The crack of fresh firewood in the grate echoed throughout the room, her eyes barely opening against the fire and morning lights. The golden rays were rapidly spreading across the velvet-pink skies, the roosters crowing to wake the farmers and call them to their daily tasks at the hands of Mother Earth. Nelia's head shifted against the feather pillow, taking in the empty space beside her. For a moment, panic settled in at the covers thrown aside, the cape missing from the back of the chair. Despite the fever that raged and the chills that washed over, she lifted her head to take in the silhouette of her love against the fire as he adds another log to stave off the icy winds creeping in. She pushed herself into a sitting position, moving to push the covers aside, even though her eyes wanted to close and her body wanted to sleep. Work had to begin, no matter the weariness and misery dancing within. She gasped as Xander's hands came across her shoulders, her eyes opening wide as his lips pressed to the back of her neck. He sensed the sickness, the discomfort, the exhaustion. He would see her unease, and the sadness that creased his eyes made her heart nearly break. She would never be able to keep a secret from him. Her movements and her eyes would always be the greatest of betrayals, and he would know how to find them. His hands pushed her back into bed, and he crawled in beside her, enveloping her in his warm embrace. Her body eased into the sheets, eyes closing against the comfort he was affording. He was imparting to her his intention by his actions and movements, caresses and embraces. He wasn't going to leave her. Not until she was on her feet, flowing with the tide yet shining above it. Sickness always hit her hard. He'd seen this through the years. And while she had need of him, he would always rise for her. Just as she drifted on the gentle waves into the contentment of slumber, a sudden knock at the door put her on alert. Even though the stable boy's voice spoke above the crack in the door, she waited and listened as he inquired what needed to be done. In a hushed tone, her lover replied that the tavern would not open this day due to sickness, and after he made a sign that reflected that statement, he would have the day off with pay. Dimly, she heard the door close and felt him shift as he laid them both down, dragging the heavier quilt that they kept at the foot of the bed over the blankets already covering. As she fell back into the wonderful darkness of the dream world, she felt his hand stroking back her hair before it rested against her own. There would be time for arguments over the bar once the detriment had passed and her strength recovered. For now, she relished in his love, his gentle kindness, his concern and care as she rode the waves into the wonderful silence, far from the sickness, from reality, and back into the world where he waited on horseback, and they rode the hills and valleys of their perfect world, hand-clasped and hopeful as they were always meant to be.